So in Los Angeles, after a tumultuous term marked by a lot of corruption and his combativeness with these controversies, oftentimes posting on Facebook, calling out activists that were calling him out for his corruption. Now, Sheriff in Los Angeles, Alex Villanueva, his bid for re-election is not looking so hot. So Wednesday morning, early today, his opponent, Robert Luna, has taken a sizable lead. So this is very exciting if you have any stake in Los Angeles politics, but it goes to show that if you're a corrupt sheriff, you might not last in the United States. So with more than 1.2 million ballots counted, Luna has won 56.78% of the votes to Villanueva's 43.22%. The early returns also showed overwhelming support for Measure A, the ballot measure that would give the county's Board of Supervisors power to fire a sitting sheriff, with 70% in favor. We have Villanueva to thank for that, I believe. So we've reported a bunch of disturbing stories about Villanueva and gangs in the LAPD within Los Angeles. So let's get into some of that. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva and other department officials tried to prevent a key witness from testifying before an oversight panel about gang-like groups of deputies. Villanueva has refused to comply with subpoenas ordering them to appear before the commission. Villanueva has said the commission's efforts amount to a fake court hearing and a fake trial designed to hurt his chances at re-election in November. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Ballot Measure A would help deal with sheriffs like Villanueva. An unusual ballot measure that would give the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors the power to fire a voter-elected sheriff appeared to be passing by a large margin. According to early returns from the registrar's office, Measure A had 71% support in the first round of results, which the LA County's registrar office posted online around 10:47 p.m. last night, Tuesday, November 8th. The release was composed of vote-by-mail ballots received before Election Day and some ballots cast at vote centers. If approved by a majority of county voters, Measure A would grant power for the first time in the county's history to the Board of Supervisors to remove a publicly elected sheriff from office for cause, which is defined in the measure as violating laws related to a sheriff's performance of duties, flagrant neglect of duties, misappropriation of public funds, and other violations. So yeah, this would absolutely affect Alex Villanueva. So meanwhile, this is another big win if you're interested in any form of criminal justice reform, especially when it comes to policing. So Kenneth Mejia, who's a critical candidate, he's been really harping on the amount of money that goes to the police in Los Angeles. He took a really early lead Tuesday evening over three-term city council member Paul Koretz in the race for Los Angeles City Controller, where they're dealing with the city budget. Mejia getting 61% of the vote. That's a significant margin for a sitting politician to be the person you are running against. So Kenneth Mejia brought attention to the bloated police budget in LA, wants to use resources to help the unhoused population instead. This is a billboard that I took a picture of. I really like it. It demonstrates clearly the priorities in Los Angeles, $3.2 billion to the police, a small portion to housing, and a very small portion to youth development. And if you think about crime and public safety comprehensively, you probably agree with Kenneth Mejia here. Now, I understand that slogans like defund the police have been very unpopular, but when we unpack what that means, actually investing in things that keep our communities safe instead of giving more money to the police, which we know are led by sheriffs like Villanueva, who are terribly corrupt. Many members of the LAPD are in gangs, and when there was a search of the person's home, who was investigating these gangs, that was just an incredible demonstration of corruption in LAPD. So someone was investigating the LAPD gangs. They sent their team over there to ransack the house and take all of the papers regarding the investigation. I mean, this is what our tax dollars were going to, stuff like that. So Kenneth Mejia winning, Measure A passing, and Villanueva coming out shows that people in Los Angeles are ready to stand up to corrupt policing. Dina, I want to bring you in. You are also in California, here in Southern California, in Manhattan Beach, not too far away. What are your thoughts on what's going on here?
Well, it's interesting that the measure that you said that overwhelmingly, it sounds like it's going to pass, which allows the Board of Supervisors to remove basically a corrupt sheriff. And that is in a way acting against their own self-interest voters, right? Because they are giving away a little bit of their power by saying, hey, we may vote in this sheriff, but you're allowed to remove him. And that's really interesting. I know the sheriff, Villanueva said this was a power grab. It gives, and it's true, it does give more power to the Board of Supervisors. I think it's a great check. It doesn't require there to be a recall of the sheriff if there's something so extreme going on. It's oversight, but it is true that it actually is taking away a little bit of the voters' choice, because there's a mechanism to remove them without the voters being involved. This is, LA has got so many different pockets, right? I mean, LA County is huge. They say, I think that the budget is similar to like the state of Michigan or something like that. It's massive, billions and billions of dollars going to LA County. And there are a lot of different cities, there's a lot of different constituents. And it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with the new city council person if it sounds like he's going to be elected, and depending on who gets to be mayor, because Rick Caruso and his campaign, one of the two things he campaigned for was hiring more police officers, right? That was like one of his two main things. And we're going to see, how does the mayor with his limited power or her limited power, if it's Karen Bass, the city council and the Board of Supervisors, and they all three have to work together in a way that other big cities don't. The city of New York mayor is actually much more powerful than the LA mayor because of this Board of Supervisors. And sometimes that's why things don't get done. And that's why sometimes people get so frustrated, because the city is not really run by one person, for better or for worse. And it'll be interesting to see how they resolve, I think, what people think are really real problems here in LA.
Yeah, and it's really convoluted too. I was looking into, what parts of the budget does the mayor have the say over? What parts of the budget does the city council have say over? And it seems like the purse strings are mostly in the hands of the Board of Supervisors, with some checks and balances across these three bodies. And the controller has a role as well. And I think Kenneth Mejia has been voted in because he'll bring transparency more than anything else. I think they know that it's a position of limited power, but he's willing to tell people how money is being spent in the city, which is something a lot of people feel like they're not getting. But I really want to point out that a lot of these wins in Los Angeles are because of good organizing. People on the ground every day doing grassroots organizing. Black Lives Matter Los Angeles has been a huge part of criminal justice reform in the city. They were camping out at Jackie Lacey's house, the district attorney, who essentially refused to prosecute any police officers for their crimes committed while on duty. And they got Jackie Lacey to step down after years of dedicated organizing. Not only that, but every Wednesday, so today's one of the days at 4 p.m., they're outside of the police association in Los Angeles. This kind of organizing where they're shutting down the streets, they're camping out at people's houses. This is really what moves the needle. And I am scared that there could be a situation where similar to what's happened in Iowa and Des Moines recently, where someone who is not the kind of corrupt sheriff like Villanueva, someone who's a regular citizen, runs for a sheriff's position, someone who is progressive, who wants to shake things up and change everything, then they get into the office and the Board of Supervisors decides they want them out. But I'm confident that we'll be okay in LA because of this strong organizing, people willing to stand up to power and make people in power uncomfortable so that we get the kind of results that people want from the government. And that's really what it takes for big progressive change like this. And Kenneth Mejia is one of the people who's right there with the grassroots organizers in Los Angeles. So as much as this is an electoral win, there were years of good organizing on the ground every day, not in election seasons, that led to us being in this position. Any last thoughts, Dina?
Yeah, and I think that is so often overlooked because LA is mostly Democrat, right? Usually, and California goes mostly Democrat, and we don't really get watched. But people are so organized, actually, very politically motivated in California and in Southern California. And they get organized in the ways that you mentioned, in groups that they are interested in, yes, in local politics, and really around the country. I mean, I know the last last Georgia Senate runoff, the most volunteers Georgia had were people from California. California volunteers in elections across the country. I know I did voter protection work in the 2020 election for North Carolina. So Californians don't get noticed because our elections tend to maybe be a little bit easier. But like you say here, we have a strong grassroots, strong politically motivated citizens that either do it in their local elections and then also do it nationally.